Jack O'Malley, a freelance hacker, was deep in debt, taking on risky jobs for anonymous clients. Today, his task was to plant a tracking device in the National Oceanic Geology Administration, the world's largest surveillance system. To gain access, he needed a distraction. Jack set a fire outside the building, creating chaos as security rushed to contain the flames. With their focus elsewhere, he slipped inside unnoticed, navigated the facility, and completed the job. Santa, known as the Red One, stood surrounded by excited children, their joy bringing a warm smile to his face. Suddenly, a vlogger barged in, attempting to cut the line. Callum, Santa's ever-watchful personal security, quickly intervened, his irritation evident. Callum, already weary of dealing with entitled adults, felt his Christmas spirit fading. Sensing his frustration, Santa gently reassured him, reminding him they were here for the children. "Don't let the grown-ups ruin it," Santa said with a twinkle in his eye. "Focus on the kids. They're what make this worth it." The Red One and Callum arrived at the military base where their flying reindeer was stationed. With only a few days left until Christmas, they needed to return to the North Pole to prepare. Military personnel escorted them with precision and respect, ensuring a smooth departure. Soon, they were back at the North Pole, ready to gear up for the busiest time of the year. Jack noticed the tracking device was already on the move. Unbeknownst to him, it had been planted on Santa's reindeer, threatening to reveal the secret location of the North Pole, something no human in history had ever discovered. Oblivious to the true implications, Jack received a call from the anonymous client who had assigned him the task. The transaction was swift, and Jack was paid in full, unaware of the chaos his actions might unleash. Santa arrived at his secret location, a magical wonderland bustling with hundreds of workers preparing for Christmas. The air buzzed with excitement as everyone focused on the most important time of the year. In a quiet corner of the workshop, Santa was lifting weights when Callum entered, holding a resignation letter. Santa looked at him in surprise and tried to talk him out of it, but Callum's frustration was evident. "Humans are getting worse every year," Callum said, his voice heavy. "The naughty list has grown by 22% annually, and no one seems to care. Their behavior is draining the magic out of this job." Santa sighed, placing a hand on Callum's shoulder. "Take some time to think about it," he said gently. "This isn't a decision to make in haste." Meanwhile, the anonymous person who had paid for the tracking device was working tirelessly to breach Santa's secret location. Their plan to infiltrate the magical fortress was unfolding, but they were unaware of the danger that loomed. Callum, however, noticed something odd. Lights in various parts of Santa's building began flickering and going out. He immediately tried to reach the workers to investigate, but no one responded. The silence was unsettling. Panic slowly crept in as he realized something was wrong. He demanded to know where Santa was, but no one seemed to have an answer. The building, usually a place of organized chaos, now felt eerily quiet and uncertain. Something was happening, and Callum could feel it in his gut. Santa had been kidnapped. A breach in security had allowed a jet-powered car to speed away from the North Pole, with Santa inside, or so it seemed. Callum, frantic, ordered various units to pursue the vehicle, convinced that Santa was in it. In an act of desperation, Callum activated a toy bike, bringing it to life. He leapt onto it, chasing the car with everything he had. As he raced through the snow, he noticed something strange. The kidnappers had somehow found a way to cut through the protective dome around the North Pole. Callum caught up to the car and forced it to stop, only to discover that it was a decoy. His heart sank as he realized the truth. A jet had taken Santa away, disappearing into the sky. The team received unsettling news. Someone had hacked into their surveillance system, exposing Santa's secret location. The hacker behind it was known as the Wolf, a notorious figure in the dark web, famed for his skills in cyber infiltration. Meanwhile, Jack, living a fractured life, sat in his apartment, consumed by his work. Divorced and distant from his son Dylan, Jack's absence in Dylan's life weighed heavily on the young boy. Dylan's once bright spirit had dimmed, his heart aching for his father's attention. That evening, Dylan had a school show and he invited Jack to attend. His mother, Jack's ex-wife, gently urged him to go, pleading for him to spend time with their son. Jack, however, deflected the blame, citing his job and its demands as the reason for his absence. The military had been silently waiting for Jack at his apartment, their presence unknown to him. As he returned, he sensed something was off but tried to brush it aside. Soon they cornered him, and despite his best efforts to resist, he was captured. In a shocking turn, they froze him in time, rendering him helpless. Jack found himself tied up, the weight of his situation settling in as he was interrogated. Under pressure, he revealed a crucial detail. He didn't know the individuals who had paid for the surveillance data. It was simply part of his job to keep everything anonymous, a policy he had always followed. The truth hung in the air, but it only seemed to raise more questions for his captors. Jack was transported to the military base for further interrogation. It was clear now that he truly didn't know the individuals who had paid for the surveillance data, but Callum remained skeptical. Jack was listed as a level 4 on the naughty list, and Callum didn't trust him, no matter what he claimed. Under the mounting pressure, Jack suggested a way to trace the person responsible. "You can find them by checking where the payment came from," he said, his voice steady. After a quick search, Jack revealed a breakthrough. The payment had originated from Naruba, a mysterious and unknown location. This revelation shifted the focus of the investigation, pointing them to a new lead. In the next scene, we see the person behind Santa's kidnapping, a witch with a twisted vision. She believed that the world could only find balance if every human on Santa's naughty list was imprisoned. With no way to accomplish this on her own, she turned to a darker path, harvesting Santa's powers. In a hidden lair, the witch began drawing upon Santa's magical energy, siphoning his powers in an attempt to gain the strength necessary to carry out her grim plan. The atmosphere crackled with dark magic. Jack and Callum travelled to Naruba through a portal, a strange and mystical gateway that transported them to the heart of the unknown. Once on the other side, Callum, using his powers, turned a toy car into a real one. They hopped in and drove toward the location of the anonymous data buyer, their mission growing more urgent with each passing mile. Meanwhile, the witch's plans were unfolding smoothly. She had found a way to duplicate the magical glass prison, a powerful artifact capable of holding anyone trapped inside. Her intentions were clear. She intended to use these prisons to imprison everyone on Santa's naughty list, forcing the world into her vision of balance. The witch worked tirelessly, knowing that time was running out. Jack and Callum arrived at their destination and spotted the anonymous buyer. As they tried to approach, the buyer's bodyguard attempted to stop Callum, but Callum effortlessly used his powers to neutralize him. With the bodyguard out of the way, Callum turned his focus to the buyer, demanding to know who he sold the data to. The buyer hesitated, warning that if he said her name aloud, she would hear. Instead, he wrote it on the ground. Jack, distracted and unaware of the danger, read aloud what was written. The moment he pronounced the name, the witch indeed heard him. Possessing the anonymous buyer, she turned him into a medium through which she could communicate. Through him, she revealed her plan, to punish the naughty listers by using Santa's powers. As her cover was blown, she sent 3 snowmen in a comically large truck to wreak havoc on the island. At first, the snowmen appeared nearly immortal, impervious to every attack. But Callum quickly deduced their weakness. All he had to do was pull the carrot from their noses. With that knowledge, he acted fast, and one by one, the snowmen fell. The witch decided to test her glass prison on the first person on the naughty list, Aaron, as the list was arranged alphabetically. She placed him inside the magical prison, eager to see if it would work as she intended. However, to her frustration, the prison failed to hold him as expected. The magic didn't bind him the way she thought it would. Callum and his team managed to trace the witch's steps, discovering that her last known location was Germany, the place where Santa's adopted brother, Grimpus, lived. Santa and Grimpus had signed a treaty years ago. They agreed that Grimpus would remain in his dome, and Santa would never visit him, while Grimpus would stay out of the world of Christmas. However, with the witch's threat looming, Callum knew the risk was high, but he insisted on going to find Grimpus, regardless of the consequences. As they made their way toward Germany, Callum explained to his team the history between Santa and Grimpus. Santa and Grimpus had once worked together. Santa's job was to give gifts to people, while Grimpus, as Krampus, kept the naughty list. Santa, however, grew to despise the list and took it away, which led to Grimpus's departure. In his bitterness, Grimpus sought comfort in the witch, who shared his belief in punishing the naughty. They dated for a few years, but their relationship ended badly. Despite this, the witch remained steadfast in her mission to punish people, whether with Krampus by her side or not. They arrived at Krampus's dome, carefully sneaking in under the cover of darkness. Callum quickly created a distraction to keep anyone from noticing them, but he sternly warned Jack not to touch anything. Jack, however, being as mischievous as ever, couldn't resist. He spotted a pile of gold, gleaming in the dim light, and decided it was too tempting to pass up. The moment Jack took the gold, Krampus's security systems triggered an alarm. Before they knew it, they were caught, and both Callum and Jack were thrown into a cold, dark jail cell. Jack, trying to justify his actions, explained to Callum that stealing the gold seemed like a no-brainer. After all, it was just sitting there so openly. But Callum, frustrated, looked at him with a stern expression. "Stealing is stealing, Jack," he replied, "no matter how easy it seems." A few moments later, Callum and Jack were brought before Krampus, who was in the middle of a slap contest, laughing as he slapped another contestant in the face. His fun was interrupted when he saw Callum, and his irritation was immediate. He didn't expect Callum to be there, especially not after their history. Callum quickly explained the situation, telling Krampus that Santa had been kidnapped by his ex, the witch. Krampus paused, his expression darkening. "Santa is not here," he grumbled. Callum pressed further, asking, "Then why did the witch come to you?" Krampus sighed heavily. "She came for my glass prison," he revealed. "She plans to make duplicates of it. With that power, she could imprison anyone on the naughty list." The gravity of the situation sank in, and Callum knew they were running out of time to stop her. Callum pleaded with Krampus, begging him to let him leave, but Krampus firmly refused. However, Krampus did offer Jack an option. Jack could leave alone. Jack, unwilling to leave Callum behind, quickly devised a plan. He challenged Krampus to a slap contest, proposing that if Callum won, he would be allowed to leave. But if Callum lost, both of them would remain in Krampus's captivity forever. The contest began, and Callum bravely took the first slap from Krampus. It barely left a scratch. But when Krampus delivered his slap to Callum, the force sent him flying across the room, crashing into the walls. Jack realized that Callum wasn't going to win this match on his own. Quickly thinking, Jack dashed to the back, where he retrieved Callum's magical weapon. He swiftly strapped it to his arm, boosting his strength 100-fold. The moment Krampus fell, Jack and Callum seized the opportunity and made a quick escape, knowing they had narrowly avoided permanent captivity. Callum thanked Jack for not leaving him behind, grateful for his bravery and loyalty. But Jack, in his usual impulsive way, made another mistake. He accidentally uttered the witch's name aloud once again. As they drove off, trying to leave the chaos behind, their journey came to an abrupt halt. In the middle of the road, a piano was playing by itself, its keys moving as if guided by an unseen hand. The eerie sound filled the air, and they knew it was a trap. Before they could react, the witch sent the glass prison, which materialized before them. The prison opened on its own, trapping both Jack and his son, Dylan, inside. The glass shimmered, and in an instant they were transported to the witch's location, where her plans were ready to unfold. Jack and Dylan were trapped side by side in the witch's glass prison, a clear sign that her trap was now working exactly as she intended. With the prison's power fully functional, the witch began mass-producing the glass prisons, setting her plan into motion. Meanwhile, Callum was putting the pieces together. He realized that the only place with the energy needed to mass-produce the glass prisons was the North Pole. He quickly contacted one of the employees there, putting her to the test by asking personal questions to ensure she wasn't under the witch's influence. She got the answers wrong, and that's when Callum had his breakthrough. Santa never left the North Pole. The jet that had arrived there was just a diversion. As Callum pieced the information together, the horrifying truth became clear. The North Pole had been overtaken by shapeshifters, and Santa's kidnapping was part of a much bigger plot. The witch and her sons, the shapeshifters, were now fully aware that Callum and his team were onto them. However, their plan was nearly complete, and they didn't see it as much of a threat anymore. Undeterred, Callum and his team headed back to the North Pole, determined to finish this once and for all. As they journeyed, Jack took a moment to apologize to his son, Dylan, for his past behavior. His heartfelt apology caused a surprising change. His name was erased from the naughty list, and in an instant, he was freed from the glass prison that had held him captive. Reunited with his son, Jack shared a moment of relief. Together with Callum's help, they infiltrated the North Pole and freed the real staff members who had been locked away by the witch. The North Pole was no longer under her control. On Christmas Eve, the witch was poised to execute her final plan, delivering the glass prison to every human on the naughty list. However, she knew she didn't have the power to command the flying reindeer herself. Only Santa could control them, and without him, the mission would fail. In a desperate bid to make her plan work, she captured Santa and set him up on the reindeer cart, ensuring that his energy would be used to fuel her scheme. As Santa's magical power began to flow through the reindeer, the witch believed her victory was within reach. She was ready to unleash her glass prisons upon the world. As the witch prepared to take off with Santa, her son, the shapeshifter, and Callum's team found themselves locked in a fierce battle. The chaos escalated as the witch's plan neared completion. While Callum and Jack fought off the shapeshifters, they realized the witch was about to escape with Santa, and they had to act fast. Determined, Callum and Jack chased after the reindeer, hoping to free Santa before it was too late. In a moment of desperation, Jack spotted an opportunity. He quickly found a way to loosen the reindeer from the cart. With one swift move, he freed the reindeer, sending them into a wild frenzy. The sudden force threw the witch off balance, and she was sent flying miles away from the reindeer, losing control of the situation. This gave Callum and Jack the chance to finally free Santa and put an end to the witch's plot. As the battle seemed to reach its end, Callum carried Santa, trying desperately to wake him up. Just when they thought they had won, the witch appeared in her final monstrous form, more terrifying than ever. Her power had only grown stronger, and she was bent on finishing what she had started. Callum and Jack, exhausted and outmatched, realized they couldn't defeat her on their own. Just as all hope seemed lost, Krampus arrived, unleashing a powerful firestorm that struck the witch, severely wounding her and buying Callum much-needed time. But as the witch regained her strength and grabbed hold of Callum, it looked like defeat was inevitable. Just then, Santa finally woke up. With a surge of magic, he summoned the reindeer back, who charged toward the witch. The witch, weakened and desperate, fell into her own trap, as the reindeer overwhelmed her and sent her tumbling into the very glass prison she had created for others. The witch was finally trapped, her reign of terror brought to an end. Santa, grateful and relieved, turned to his brother Krampus. "Thank you," he said, "for having my back." With the witch defeated and Christmas saved, Santa and his team could finally rest, knowing they had once again preserved the spirit of Christmas. With the witch defeated and Christmas saved, Santa was finally back where he belonged. With a renewed sense of purpose, he quickly got to work, preparing the sleigh and reindeer for the night ahead. He set off into the sky, delivering presents to families all over the world, ensuring that the spirit of Christmas would shine brightly for everyone, no matter their place on the naughty or nice list. As Santa soared through the night, spreading joy and warmth, he knew that despite the challenges, Christmas had been saved once again. With his reindeer guiding him and his heart full of hope, Santa continued his timeless mission, bringing smiles to children and families across the globe, securing the magic of Christmas for yet another year.